YouTube family, what's good with you? It's your boy 2A in LA, and as always, fam, anything I say in this episode, prior episodes, and future episodes is just my personal opinion. Don't take it as fact. Don't take it as law. Always do your own homework and come up with your own conclusions. Right about now, fam, I should go ahead and tap that like button for your boy. If you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome. Come on in. You can join the congregation by smashing that subscribe button and requesting all post notifications. And if you are an existing supporter of this channel, I appreciate you more than you can possibly imagine. You are the reason this channel is anything. All right, fam, let's get into this episode. So look, this episode is kind of the result of a lot of things that I'm seeing out in what I'm going to call the gun tube community. And it doesn't matter wherever. I know there's a lot of subsets of that community, but I'm kind of speaking to it all in its totality right now. And so I've seen a lot of fellow gun tubers who have been very critical, if you will, of the consumerism that takes place in the gun tube community. And what do I mean by consumerism? I mean people who the focus of their channel is consumption, right? Look at this gun. Let me tell you why this gun is phenomenal. Let me tell you why this gun is great. Check out this optic. Let me tell you why this optic is a bomb. Let me tell you why it's great and why you should buy it. Look at this bag. Look at this gear. Look at this rig. Look at this holster. Look at this food. Buy. People who are catering to consumers. And I am not being critical of that. That is in large part what my channel is about. Because I guess what I'm trying to do or attempting to do is help you guys make good decisions with your money. If you're trying to decide between this optic and that optic, and you can watch channels like mine and others who can give you some insight as to the pros and cons of this optic versus this optic, then you can make an educated and informed choice. That's the goal of my channel. I think that's probably the goal of a lot of the channels that are more consumer based, more consumption based, right? But I'm not here to influence you. I'm here to hopefully help you, maybe guide you, maybe provide a little insight into something that you're already doing. What I would not want is, you don't need this gun. You don't really want this gun, right? You weren't even thinking about buying a gun. Then you see a 2A in LA review about a gun and you're like, oh, I gotta have that. That's not what I want to do. That is not my goal. I don't want to influence you in that way. I want to aid you in a purchase you are already considering, right? That's the goal, at least. Now, I know some people, as a result of me doing that, some people may have that, they may have that effect, right? That's not my intent. So I just want you guys to know that. Now, I see a lot of gun tubers who are highly critical of the consumerism. And that hasn't really been directed at me because I have a relatively small channel. But they're highly critical of all channels that are more gear focused, gear. And the complaint is, you guys are all about consumption and not production. You guys should be less about what gear you should buy and more about using the gear, right? How to use the gear, how to get the most out of the gear, how to work the gear, right? I think there's some truth to that. I think there are channels out there that do focus on that, right? What I'm not down with, though, is the people who are more production focused or training focused, right? Crapping on the people who are gear focused. And I'm also not with the people who are gear focused, crapping on the people who are training focused because they don't have the best kit, right? And so there's a line, I feel like, that is being drawn in the sand. Consumerism versus production, or consumption versus productivity, or training. I don't think those lines need to exist. And this leads me to the other part of this conversation. What I feel is wrong in the 2A community. I think there's too much of this. I think it goes on in gun tube spaces, and I think it goes on in the community as a whole. People will see somebody with some kind of high-speed gear, some high-speed gun, and they're like, "Oh, instead of spending the money on the gun, you should spend the money on training. You should have spent the money on ammunition. Instead of spending the money on a gun, you should have spent the money on training. You should have spent the money on ammunition." Well, if they can afford the high-speed gear, they can also afford the ammunition and the training, and you should make the assumption that they're not. These things are often not one versus the other, right? You should get the best possible gear and equipment that you can reasonably afford, and then you should train and try your best to be proficient with that gear. That's how it should be. And there shouldn't be judgment if you can only afford kind of low level basic gear. People who can afford high gear shouldn't be crapping on you. And if you can afford nice gear, people who can't shouldn't be crapping on you. Fam, there's just too much judgment out here. These people out here in these YouTube and 2A streets are just too judgmental, in my opinion. I heard one guy say, if you're not showing, this was a YouTuber, if you're not showing how to use the gear, or you're not focused on training the gear, on training with the gear, then really all you are is entertainment. Okay, well, some people watch YouTube for entertainment. That's okay. That's okay. If you are entertaining people, that's a good thing. A lot of times people leave all the hassles and problems they have in their everyday work life or family life or whatever, and they want to come and be entertained. So don't crap on people because they're entertaining. I remember T-Rex Arms at one point had been very critical of some of the gun tubers because they felt like they weren't being serious enough. Well, be serious on your channel. Don't try to make other people to your mold. There is space under the tent for everyone. And I feel like there are so many threats out there where people are trying to take away our 2A rights that we need to embrace everybody who's an advocate for that. And so I just thought I'd do a quick little video to kind of have a conversation with you guys, right? I think there is a place for everybody. Yes, I think gear reviews and gun reviews and those kind of things are important because people are looking for insight and education relative to what they should buy and what's crap and what's good. And if they don't have that knowledge firsthand, then having resources that they can easily access is a good thing. Conversely, I do think there's way more value probably in utilizing the gear and training techniques and getting out and training and practicing it 100%. And I think there should be channels that are focused on that. The same way when you're talking about the gear itself, there are people who really nerd out and get into the specs and start doing all of this. And that's not my channel. But they start getting into the minutia of every little aspect of it. And I think that's great because some people want that. And then some people just want a high level. Is this good or is it junk? You know, and I think that's good too. I think there's room for everybody in our space. We should stop being so judgmental. We should stop being so critical of everybody, and we should embrace people and bring them into the tent. Because if a lot of times it's not even about what I think of this channel or what that channel thinks about my channel. It's about when we're beefing or we're going back and forth, what are people who are outside of the community seeing? And that's why most of the time I give grace. Whenever somebody is critical of me, I don't feel the need to defend myself. I don't feel the need to check them. You know, for what? What? Right? That doesn't do anything. I'm focused on my path. You should focus on your path. Where we find commonality, we should embrace and enjoy that. And where we differ, we should be okay with differing. All right? That's my humble opinion. Right. Look, fam, that's it for this episode. Until next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.